Think about a time you walked into a crowded lunchroom or out onto a busy playground and realized there was no room for you at the table. We all know that sinking feeling of being left out while everyone else is having fun together. Almost without thinking about it, we divide the world into two groups. There are the insiders, the kids who belong, who get to play and share the jokes. And there are the outsiders, the kids who have to stand on the edge and watch because they aren't allowed to join in. 2,000 years ago, one of Jesus' closest friends, a man named Peter, lived his entire life by these exact same rules. Peter's world was divided by a huge invisible wall. On his side were the insiders. They followed strict rules like only eating certain approved foods. On the other side were the outsiders, people from other nations. Peter's rulebook was crystal clear. You never, ever go into an outsider's house, and you certainly don't eat lunch with them. Over time, Peter assumed that God followed these rules too. He thought God's love was kept safe behind that wall, reserved strictly for the insiders. Over in a nearby city lived Cornelius. He was a commander in the Roman army, which automatically made him the ultimate outsider to Peter's group. But Cornelius didn't act like the enemy. He actually loved God. He spent his time praying and giving his money away to help people who were poor. One afternoon, while Cornelius was praying, an angel appeared right in his room with a specific message from God. The angel told Cornelius that God heard his prayers and saw the good things he was doing. Then the angel gave him a very strange instruction: send messengers to a nearby town and find a man named Peter. By sending an outsider to knock on an insider's door, God was putting two worlds on a collision course. The next day, before those messengers arrived, Peter climbed up to the flat roof of his house to pray. It was around noon, his stomach was growling, and he was waiting for someone downstairs to finish making lunch. As he waited, Peter fell into a trance. He saw the sky open up and a massive object that looked like a giant picnic blanket, tied at its four corners, lowered down to the earth. Inside this blanket was a chaotic zoo. It was crawling with wild beasts, reptiles, and birds. According to Peter's strict rulebook, every single animal in that pile was off limits. They were forbidden. Then a voice from heaven spoke to him. It said, "Get up, Peter, kill and eat." Peter instantly refused. His lifetime of training kicked in. He argued with the voice, insisting he had never eaten anything on the unclean list. The voice replied with a sentence that would break Peter's entire worldview. Do not call anything bad or unclean if God has made it clean. This strange argument happened exactly 3 times. Then the giant sheet was pulled straight back up into the sky. Peter woke up completely confused. The rules he had trusted his whole life had just been challenged by the very God who he thought wrote them. While Peter sat on the roof trying to figure out what the dream meant, he heard a voice calling from the front gate. The messengers from Cornelius had arrived. Now Peter had a choice. His old rulebook told him to ignore these men, to turn them away because they were from a different nation. As Peter walked down the stairs to meet them, the animals in his vision took on a new meaning. Those different creatures represented the different people standing at his door. By showing Peter the animals, God was telling him to stop treating people like they were dirty, forbidden, or off limits. Peter opened his door. Instead of turning the outsiders away, he invited them inside and gave them a place to sleep for the night. To follow God's lead, Peter had to let go of the way he used to look down on others. He finally saw how his own rules were the only thing keeping those people out. The next morning, Peter traveled with the messengers back to their city to meet Cornelius. When he arrived at the Roman soldier's house, Peter didn't wait outside. He broke the oldest rule he had, and he stepped inside. Cornelius had gathered his entire family and all his close friends. Looking at this room full of people he used to avoid, Peter told them the truth he had finally learned. God does not play favorites. Peter then told them everything he knew about Jesus. He didn't hold any of the story back. He shared the good news freely with the very people he used to call outsiders. By simply walking through a physical doorway, Peter opened up a spiritual door that invited the rest of the world into God's family. As Peter was speaking, God provided the ultimate proof. He sent the Holy Spirit to fill Cornelius and his family right there in their living room, exactly the same way he had done for Peter and his friends earlier. Seeing this, Peter knew there was no debate left. These people were completely accepted. He immediately ordered that Cornelius and his family be baptized. Which brings us back to our own lunchrooms, our own playgrounds, and our own neighborhoods. Look around your life. Who are the people sitting by themselves? Who are the kids that others avoid, or the ones who are told they don't belong? Peter's strange dream on the roof leaves us with a clear instruction. God's table does not have a no outsiders allowed sign. God invites everyone to pull up a chair, and he asks us to do the exact same thing.